I'm going to start with introducing myself a little bit. Let me make this picture a little bit bigger. So this is me. So this is how I look like. I'm the founder and president of a company called Kvickbron. I will talk about that later. Just shortly about me, I've been a mind mapper, devoted mind mapper since 1986, when I attended my first class in mind mapping, and I got hooked. I love that way of working, and it helped me a lot during my career in idea generation, brainstorming, planning, preparation, problem solving, learning, writing, summarizing, you name it. It is a real productivity booster, which I assume that most people joining this webinar will agree with. So you have a certain interest in that. It is a good tool, and the tools are, of course, changing as we go. I do run a company called Kvickbron Consulting. This picture here is actually of something called Kvickbron. It's a bridge close to where I live. That's why the name of the company. I also use it as a metaphor of what we are doing, basically. We are bridging the gap in this company. Two kinds of bridges here. We are between plans and result, which is then execution, implementation, making sure that things are working the way they should. But also between intention and ability. And this is the tutoring and coaching part of our company. We teach and we coach leaders and students in management, but also in languages and other topics to make sure that the intention of learning to something will become the ability to for instance, to speak a language, etc. So these are things we do in that company. But back to the issue of the day, and this is the most important thing here. There is a Harvard professor, Robert Kaplan. He's not the only one, but he claims that 90% of organizations fail to execute their strategies successfully. It's a mind-boggling figure, of course, but when I speak to people and when I check, actually it is true. I mean, you do have very positive plans, and you have high expectations of a company. It's not only strategies, but also project plans, etc. But most important is that out of these 90%, even if they are good strategies, they fail anyway because of poor execution. High 67 up to 83% I've read about of well done and good strategies fail anyway because we are not able to execute them in a good way. And this is what I'm going to talk about. How will we be able to bridge that gap between the strategy that we once put in place and the result that we expect? This is essential for any organization for long-term survival. And this is what I do as my profession. And I have a framework that I use that I will share with you, which is very simple, but it has been proven to work in many occasions, most occasions actually. Okay, I will then switch to my next mind map. Okay, so bridging the gap between strategy and result with MindMap AI, for instance. This is how this is all done here. So I will share with you a little bit about this framework I have. So let's talk about the situation first. This is an example here. We have a company. They have spent a lot of time creating a well-formulated and ambitious strategy. They have used external consultants from very renowned companies to help them to create this, and you have a stack of slides and spreadsheets that show you, I mean, if we do this and this and this, we will arrive at these results and we will be very successful. So that's done. But what happens then is that you have a certain large number of pitfalls that all contribute to the failure of this strategy. The first one is clarity, of course. You have to be very clear on what is it that you want, why do you want it, and how will you execute it. Because if you don't have enough clarity in how you express your plan and strategy, it will not work. I mean, the people that will take care of this further down the road, they just don't get it, or they don't understand it, which is connected to the next one, which is communication, of course. Communication is essential because it's, as I normally say, it's very easy to be in full agreement when you're in the boardroom or the management room. People have been talking about this strategy, they understand it, they all agree. But once you go to execution mode, it goes down a couple of steps in the organization, and people that probably haven't been fully involved in the making of this strategy are now supposed to make sure it happens. So communication is key here. And next part here is what most people don't consider as much as they should, and which is the main reason why things fail, is the change resistance or the change skepticism. Because in every strategy, every plan is a change. I mean, you're taking the current situation and creating something hopefully better, more profitable, etc. So it comes with change. And when you deal with change, you deal with these 5 phases. This is the Kubler-Ross change curve. And this is an example where I have used the AI function of this tool. Instead of writing these 5 phases, I asked the tool to please make sub-branches of this branch depicting the 5 different phases of the Kubler-Ross change curve. And it did it, so in a very good way. So you see, this is my first example here where I've used AI in this map. This is always happening. A change is coming, announced happily by the people in charge. And normally the first reaction is denial. You refuse to accept the reality of the change. You say, okay, well, it doesn't apply to me, or no, why should we change this? As good as it is for the moment, we don't need this, etc. So you have a kind of a denial phase in the beginning, followed by anger in different levels, of course, frustration, resentment towards the change. People start to question, okay, why is this happening? Because things are working today. Why do we need change? Back to communication. We have to explain why. This is very important. Okay, and then comes the bargaining phase, where you negotiate, you avoid a change, you try to find ways around it. So, okay, I know it's happening, but I can live with it anyway. Next phase, depression. You realize that this is happening and I cannot work my way around it. I have to take this. So you start to feel sad, maybe hopelessness about the change. But finally, it goes up again. You accept and you come to terms with it and hopefully realize that actually it is for the better. It is good. This curve can take a long time. It can take a year, but it can also take a week, depending on how you manage it. So, but you have to be aware of it. This is the key, and this is the first lesson to learn. The next thing here, responsibilities. Also very important to be aware of, because what is happening? I've seen this happening so many times. Again, back to the boardroom, management room. You create this new fantastic plan together with outside consultants. You have the strategy, you have it ready, and it's okay. Now we have to implement this. Who will take care of this? And who normally gets this responsibility? Because the key clever consultants, they fly home, and you give it to somebody in the organization who probably he has time left to do this, and the wrong people normally gets the responsibility for the execution, and not given the full mandate to execute. Okay, it's a recipe for failure, So this is very important. Put the right people on the project, make sure that you have the mandate to make this happen, because it is a tough role and it will require that you are able and that you have the capabilities to take tough decisions and really make this happen. Resources, again, also very important. Not the kind of resources here, that's responsibilities, but the number of resources. If you fail to put the correct number or the enough resources on this kind of implementation, again, of course, it will fail. You cannot put such a big responsibility on a few people that are not don't have the numbers enough to make this happen. And follow up. I mean, follow up all the time from day one. I mean, is this really going according to plan or not? Because the sooner you find out that you're going off track a little bit, the earlier you can adapt and make sure it doesn't happen. So these are key pitfalls and key reasons why we have this large number of failed executions. What have I done about it? I created a framework that I call the power of W's. This is super simple, but it works. This has been working in projects. It has been working in strategies, all kinds of plans. I mean, it has worked as a snapshot to show where are we. It works as a canvas. It works as a description, and it works as a reminder that we are on track and we are in control of the different parts. So basically, we're talking about 7 different questions that you ask yourselves, and they all have a W in there somewhere. And the first thing, always, that goes back to the clarity. What do we want to accomplish here? What is the expected outcome? Be very clear. We want to grow. The expected outcome that this business is going from 1 billion to 2 billion in 3 years. This is what we want to. This is just a one-liner or a two-liners about the absolute final outcome of the plan. And the reason why this is important is that you will embed that in the minds of the people that, okay, there is a reason we do this. I mean, we are going to grow, we are going to be rich, we are going to sell more, etc. So important. As important as the what is the why, of course. Why is this important? Why are we doing what we are doing? So again, they go well together. But the why it gives the purpose, and the what is the outcome, basically. So the why and the what here are extremely important and go hand in hand. When you have those two done in a good way, and you have the people responsible for implementation really buying into that, you start working on the how. How is the plan, basically? How will we make this happen? How do we measure it? What measures will be required? So the how is really the roadmap. This is the key to how it will happen. So you make sure that you have milestones, you have deadlines. So it's clear for people that even if this takes 1 year, there is a checkpoint maybe in 1 week or in 2 weeks or in 1 month, etc. And I think a very effective way is to have hows or plans and milestones that are quite aggressive in time, because the less time you give something to be realized, it will happen in that time. If you give it too much time, you will start to make up excuses or reasons why it should take much time. This is the Parkinson law. So have aggressive milestones on the way, keeping the final what and the why stable. The hows can be adapted as you go. And then we have the when. Based on the how, you have the plan and the milestones. This, of course, try to put some dates in this. When certain things need to happen. When the whole thing shall be ready. is this a hard deadline, for instance, that it has to be ready at the end of this month, otherwise we will fail? It's very important to be clear again on, yes, it is a hard deadline. We cannot touch that, because what you need always to balance when you do this is the time, the scope, and the cost. So the when is the time. The next one, how much is the cost? So you have to balance which one of those are the most important. If it has to be ready in time, do we need to put more money on it? In that case, or we need to delay the live. So we have to be clear on which one has priority. So when it's important for the timing, and the how much is the costing, basically. How much will this cost us? What are the long-term, not only costs, but what are the benefits? What are the long-term effects? How do we justify this cost over time? For instance, in order to reach this expected outcome, we need to spend this money now, but in 5 years we will be gaining much more than we spend now, for instance. And then we had who. So this, of course, the resourcing. Who will make this happen? Make sure that the responsibilities are spread in a good way, so that the right people are working on the right things. And again, very important, back to these pitfalls, make sure that right resources and enough resources are put on the implementation. And the final one here is, of course, the where. Not maybe as important as the other 6, depends on what kind of project it is, but that could be a project that involves, locations, new locations. You could have people spread out on different continents or countries, and you have to make sure that, okay, these things are happening in Asia, these things are happening in Europe, etc., and or in certain towns or in certain plants, etc. So the where can be important depending on the type of company you're working for. So these are the power of W, and I have another map on those as well, so I will come back to that later. To summarize this one, because this is a very simplified version of what I do, basically, but normally, as I always, when I worked in different projects helping companies, using the W's with consistency and intention will increase the chances of a successful strategy execution. I've been responsible for strategies in different companies I've worked for over the years, and I have used this as a template, as a canvas that I gave all the departments. This is what we use to define the strategy and to follow up the strategy. So the W template was a kind of a standard format that we used, and it has shown to be successful because it's easy, and it is also giving focus on these things. So when people came to a project meeting, they already had in mind, okay, can I answer all these questions? Can I answer these 7 W questions? And of course, on top of using the W's, awareness and attention to these common pitfalls will also further improve the odds when you when you want to perform a successful strategy execution. Okay, very good. I will move to my last map here. So I was thinking to myself, I'm now showing my way of executing strategies with a new tool for me, MindMap AI. And I said, how can I use this tool to help me a little bit and to further refine this W framework? And that's what I did. So I used this tool and I asked it to okay, using the 7 W's that I laid out in my former slide, create an outline, a mind map of a business framework for strategic success. And I asked the tool to do that, and this is what it came up with. And I think it's very, very interesting, very successful, and a very interesting way how AI and the mind mapping can be combined to make interesting results. So it took these 7 W's that I showed you and made this slide. So we can go through it here and see what happens. So it starts then with the what. And here comes, okay, these are further tools and frameworks for how to make the what. You can use the vision and mission. You can use goals, KPIs, market analysis. These are good examples and suggestions of other frameworks and tools to help you define this what question, which is so important. And this is probably the first thing you do when you create a strategy. We start with doing these. We do SWOT analysis, we're doing goals, we do KPIs, etc., to make sure that we have defined the correct what. Followed by the why, of course, here. So again, this is rationale, why we do things. Okay, well, the market needs, the market opportunities. What is our role and why are we doing this? And the SWOT analysis, very important. Coming to the how, again, this is the action plan. Resource allocation, risk management, metrics monitoring, how do we follow up, etc. So out of the hows comes the execution plan, which is so important to make happen, that it works in a good way. Yeah. We move from that to the when. Going to more details here, as I told you before, we have the milestones, the critical path, what happens, what is the critical path, what part of this timing has to work, otherwise it will delay the whole thing. So here we come into more traditional project planning and project scheduling. We have the who here. So again, the team structure, the roles, the communication plan, accountability, delegation, extremely important. Who has the mandate to do what, etc., and who can delegate. We have the how much, budget allocation, cost-benefit analysis, the ROI calculations. So it's all of things that I have talked about before, but it outlines them in a different way, and it gives more direct tools, proposals for what tools to use and what frameworks to use to make this happen. And the last one is the where. So resource inventory, infrastructure needs, technology tools. We have also other things here that organization change, organization needs, etc. So there you have it. This is the result of the AI, fully AI generated mind map that I've used here in MindMap AI to really summarize and to finalize why I think this W framework is good, successful, has worked for me, has worked for all the organizations where I have used it. It's not a guarantee, but at least it will definitely improve the odds of having successful implementation. And that's what I had to say today. So back to you.
Thank you, Christian. Yeah, we have some questions. Maybe I'll try read it for you. So there's a question like, in your experience, what are the most common reasons organizations fail at executing well-formulated strategies?
Out of these pitfalls, for me, the most common one is the change management. I can give you some examples. For instance, if you have a strategy that involves a change of IT systems, and in the beginning, people are very happy about that because they think the old system is crap. But the day that you implement the new system, of course, the old system is the best in the world. People are, in general, reluctant to change, and being aware of that early on is very important, because it's easy to underestimate. Because in the beginning, maybe people will nod and they will give the appearance of being on board with everything, but deep inside they are not really happy about the change.
Okay, thank you. So that's the other question. I have developed a comprehensive social media strategy, but now I am facing challenges in maintaining and optimizing it over time. Could you please share your experiences or insights on how to effectively maintain and improve a strategy?
Mm-hmm. That is a very good question, and goes back a little bit again to, let me go back to this one. Was here the pitfalls, clarity. Yeah. If the strategy is either it's not well understood or it's not doing its job, there are two things to do. We have to look at the clarity. Is it clearly communicated? If it is, then of course we have a problem with the strategy itself, and we have to go back and say, okay, it doesn't work. Why does that happen? So we have to go back again. Is to go back to the top, basically, to look at the what. What is it we want to accomplish? Why isn't it happening? If the expected outcome was X and we are looking at Y for the moment, we have to go back to the source and maybe make a new SWOT analysis, make a new analysis of the situation, and then adjust the plan accordingly. So one underrated feature in modern mind mapping tools that you believe had the biggest impact. I think the mind mapping is very good, and different tools have different features. But I think the link between the mind mapping and for instance, if you make a project plan in another tool, that you really want to link the mind mapping to the execution tools. If you don't use mind mapping itself as a tool, yeah, I think that's very important. And normally, the mind mapping tools is not used by everybody, and so linking that to more common tools, to emails, to documents, to spreadsheets, to have kind of a transparent, seamless link between the mind mapping and other tools, I think is one underrated feature. Yeah. And for organizations using only project management tools, how can mind mapping complement? Rather than, yeah, that's a little bit what I said, and I think it is not the same thing. I mean, the project management tools, they answer the more or less the how and when and who questions. Yeah. I think the mind mapping can be used for the upper questions, like the why and the what and the how. More strategic and the more execution tools can definitely be used as for project management tools. But as I said before, if they can be linked in a better way, which they cannot today in a good way, that will help. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, and I hope it was useful for most of you. I see that many hearts here, so I hope so. That's always good.